So next, we're going to talk about broadband network architecture. And you need to understand this as the base of broadband infrastructure networks that connects communities across the country. So just as a one-on-one, there's a few phrases and terms that you'll have to be accustomed to. If you hear backbone, that's the major high-speed transmission lines that connect data centers in major urban markets across the country. Middle mile, that's the connection between the backbone network and local networks. That's almost akin to the federal interstate highway system in America. And then last mile, that is the connection between the local network and end user homes and businesses. Staying with the highway example, the last mile is the off ramp, if you will, directly into homes and businesses of end users in the community. That's the last stop that service is delivered to. So now that we've talked about broadband infrastructure, let's talk about fiber optic technology. So fiber optics transmit data over light. And there are two main methods of fiber deployments, or how you would build a fiber network. One is aerial, and the other is buried. Aerial you see along the public utility poles across the country. They're usually next to streets and highways, and you see them attached and strung up along with electricity and other aerial deployments. But fiber can also be buried, or those cables are directly buried or installed in underground conduit, usually along right-of-ways. There are various reasons why you would do one deployment or the other, usually associated with cost or topography or location. Maintenance, right? Let's talk about maintenance for a second. In an aerial build, there's generally more exposed to elements of nature. Hurricanes, down trees, those generally impact power lines, generally impact poles and broadband infrastructure that's connected utilizing aerial deployments. But a buried, more difficult to repair, but those repairs are less frequent because generally it requires some type of underground cut or underground damage to damage or impact the infrastructure. And again, as I referred to as cost, is generally the main reason why one would decide an aerial deployment versus a buried deployment. Typically under aerial, it's typically more cost effective. It's less suited for areas with extreme weather, but again, it's typically more cost effective to deploy. Where buried deployments are typically more expensive, but again, maybe better suited for areas with extreme weather. So let's talk about coaxial cable or copper-based technologies. These copper-based technologies use infrastructure deployed by cable TV and telephone service providers. There are generally two main types, coaxial cable, or referred to coax, or DSL, or digital subscriber line. Coaxial cable was originally installed for cable TV. It's currently the dominant technology for residential broadband services, and it's typically not symmetrical, meaning it has both fast download and fast upload speeds, but it's typically fast download and slow upload speeds, and we'll give you some examples of that in other modules. For DSLs, its service is offered over the traditional copper telephone-based network. It cannot match the speeds of other technologies, and those speeds degrade rapidly over long distances. So the closer you are to a DSL facility, you can experience some high speed, relatively speaking, and then the further away that you are, those speeds degrade again rapidly over long distances. Let's talk about wireless technologies. Wireless technologies use directional equipment to provide service generally over a wide area. There are really four main types. It can be fixed wireless devices or systems that provide services in fixed locations. They can be mobile, right? Your general cellular networks that deliver service to mobile end users through phones and devices. Satellite, geostationary satellites provide service primarily in low density areas. And then microwave, where it utilizes mid to high frequency signals to deliver service between direct line of sight locations. So again, if you think about microwave, it has to be point to point. It has to have a direct line of sight. Can't be blocked by any foliage or any buildings. Whereas fixed is generally cast more widely. Think of fixed more like a Wi-Fi or a mesh network location or a mesh network um, format for providing those services. Everyone knows cellular. Again, the cellular towers are everywhere. They generally cover vast geographic areas, but are defined by mile limitations. And then again, as we all know from satellite technology. So this next slide provides a picture of various broadband connection types. So up in the upper left here, you have microwave deployment that we talked about in the previous slide. Again, facilitated primarily by towers and businesses, and they'll have equipment hanging from them that transmit those signals to end users that have receiving equipment on their buildings or inside that will utilize those frequencies and provide access to the internet. Particularly if you live in an area of homes that have coaxial cable, you'll see that coaxial cable deployment here, generally underground or buried, but again goes directly into the home to connect your television and other devices within the home. Over here, you'll see a typical aerial fiber deployment, again utilizing public utility poles or some other light poles or other structures, and you'll see those hanging off and then going directly into homes and businesses as well. And then if you are lucky to live in an area that has fiber, buried fiber deployment, if you're ever driving along a street or highway and you'll see an orange cone sticking out of the ground, that is indicating that there is buried fiber, buried conduit there. And so that is where that fiber is located. Also, if you also notice too, if you're driving along your state highways or federal highways, you'll see these areas or these locations that have these really ugly brown buildings. They're surrounded by transmission lines or other sort of transmission technology. Well, in those buildings, we call those middle mile communication huts, are millions of dollars worth of communications equipment, and they power both our broadband and telecommunications networks across the country. So they connect all of those points that we talked about previously. And those are connected to area nodes or community anchor institutions, again, to provide service to the area. So again, we're providing this information for you so you'll have a rudimentary understanding of what the community is trying to do when they talk about their various broadband goals and the plans that they want to set up. Again, this is not the first time that you'll talk to us. We're here to answer any questions that you may have. So I'm not expecting any of you to master any of this, but you will have this slide as well as these modules as your frame of reference as you go through to the program. Please feel free to refer back to these at any time. And again, we do not expect you to master this and being able to go out in the community and talk about this. But you are going to be able to assist the community on a rudimentary basis to understand exactly what they need, what they want, and you will be able to help them as they move forward. So what is the idea behind all of this, right? The idea of the connected community. And this slide really wraps it up and puts it all together. The idea is no matter where you live, no matter where you work, you're connected and you have access. That means you can be productive. That means you can run your home and business no matter where you live. That means you can go to school no matter where you live. That means you can survive a pandemic no matter where you live, right? And so what we've acknowledged and what we've gone through over the past year with COVID really underscores the need for enhanced and robust broadband connectivity across the country. Some key terms and phrases here that you'll see thrown around, particular business. We're talking about resiliency and continuity of business actions and activities, right? That is a key core component of having robust broadband connectivity. Economic development, smart technology, sustainability, innovation and education and health, workforce development, enabling more data-driven decisions that reflect accuracy in resources and programming. So again, the idea of the connected community is no matter where you are, urban, rural, suburban, farm, agriculture, you will have access to broadband infrastructure, broadband technology, and then we'll be able to participate in the marketplace, either marketplace of ideas or the actual marketplace of goods and services. So your work here, your work with the community definitely helps us move forward, not only in the community, but also in the country.